Hello friends, I am Anand Pandey, and here in this video we'll discuss the first chapter of class 11th Bio NCERT, The Living World. And in this chapter we'll discuss the topic, what is living? So what do we mean by living? What is living? In fact, it is very difficult to define life. There is no clear-cut, straightforward definition of life. Whatever definitions have been given, they are all having exceptions. So we try to identify life with the help of certain characters which may or may not be exhibited by living beings all the time. But still, these characters are helpful in understanding and identifying broadly what living beings are and what type of activities they do and show, and that is how life is being tried to identified. So these distinctive characters which are exhibited by living beings are growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness, which may or may not be present in the living beings. Let us discuss each of them one by one. First, we'll see growth. What is growth? Increase in the length, height, volume, weight, size, etc. in organisms, in their organs, or even their cells is called as growth. Growth basically takes place at cellular level by two mechanisms. One is cell enlargement and another is cell division, and often both of them go one after another, but sometimes they are separated. So what is cell enlargement? Cell enlargement is increase in the size of the cell. Suppose this is a cell and it grows bigger in size without division, then it is cell enlargement, bringing about the growth. Alternately, if this cell is undergoing division, giving rise to two daughter cells, then it is also growth. So often these two processes occur in sequence, but in case of plants, uh, for example, at the tip there are meristematic cells which keep dividing without much enlargement, and they produce cells behind which grow bigger in size, and thereafter though they don't divide. So there is enlargement in the cells behind which ultimately form permanent cells, and which are cells which are present at the tip or meristem, they keep dividing. So growth takes place in living beings. But here you should remember that there are non-living objects also which keep growing. For example, if a crystal is dipped in the solution of its own salt, then by deposition of salts over its surface, this crystal will grow. So there is growth, but it is a slightly different type of growth. Here, there is deposition of material from outside, whereas in living beings, growth is from inside. Also, you have seen many non-living objects like sand dunes, which are found in desert areas, and they keep growing by deposition of sand brought by wind. So here also the growth is from outside and there is no internal growth. So we can say that living beings grow internally, they grow from inside. But one thing you should remember, there are cells or organs which are under dormancy and they do not show any growth. For example, a dormant seed will not grow, it will remain as it is. So, this seed is living or not living? Of course, it is living, and as soon as it will get proper conditions, it will germinate and will form a new plant. So, despite being living, that seed will not grow, and that is, uh, we can say that growth is generally present in living beings, but it may not be exhibited all the time by all living beings. Then another aspect which is associated with living beings is reproduction. Reproduction is uh, a process in which living beings produce their own copies, their own replicas. So reproduction is generally found in all living beings, but there are some organisms which fail to reproduce or do not reproduce at all. For example, worker honeybees, they do not lay eggs. In beehives, egg is laid by queen and workers simply work for the upkeep of the colony. So they do not reproduce. So are these workers living or non-living? Of course they are living, but they do not reproduce. Similarly, there are some animals like mule. So mule are sterile and they do not reproduce. There are even some human beings which are sterile or their reproductive system is faulty and they cannot reproduce. So should they be considered as living or non-living? They are living without the ability to reproduce. So we can safely say that living beings generally reproduce, but it is not compulsory that if they reproduce, then only we will consider them as living. They are living, they can be living, and even then they do not have the ability to reproduce. Then another character which is generally associated with living beings is metabolism. Metabolism is chemical reaction. In fact, inside the body, inside the cells of all the living beings, there are various types of chemical reactions going on all the time, and all these chemical reactions are collectively called as metabolism or metabolic reactions. They are uh, carried out by uh, biocatalysts or enzymes which are proteinaceous in nature. So metabolism is, uh, you can say, the chemistry, the chemical reaction which sustain life. Metabolic reactions can be of two types, anabolic reactions and catabolic reactions, or anabolism and catabolism. Synthetic or constructive reactions are called as anabolic reactions, where simple molecules are utilized to produce complex molecules. For example, photosynthesis is an anabolic reaction where simple molecules like carbon dioxide is utilized to synthesize complex molecules like glucose. So it is anabolic reaction. Just opposite happens in catabolic reactions where complex molecules are broken down into simple molecules. For example, respiration. Here glucose and other complex organic molecules are broken and carbon dioxide is released. So these are catabolic reactions. So both metabolic as well as both anabolic as well as catabolic reactions are collectively called as metabolic reactions, which usually happen inside the living cells to sustain life. But uh, these enzymes can be extracted from living cells and they can be provided with substrates and they can carry out these reactions. So metabolic reactions can occur outside the body of the living beings in a cell-free medium or in an extracellular medium with the help of enzymes. So it is not always that these metabolic reactions occur inside the body. We can say that generally they occur inside the body. Also, you should know that not in all living cells or organs always metabolic reactions take place. For example, a frozen cell or a dormant cell, it will not show any metabolic activity. You might have seen a dormant seed. It is hardly there is any perceptible change in it if it is kept over a period of time. It will start showing living activities, metabolic activities, only when suitable conditions are present in the surrounding medium. And then only it will grow and will produce a new plant. So metabolism is generally associated with life, but it is not necessary that always all living beings show metabolic activities. Then the fourth criterion is cellular organization. It was observed that all living beings are made up of cell or cells. There are unicellular organisms where single cell is present, and there are multicellular organisms where multiple cells are present. This fact was first of all observed and noticed by two scientists, Schleiden and Schwann, and they put forward this idea in the form of a theory called cell theory. Rudolf Virchow was also uh, helpful in formulating this idea. So, what is the cell theory? All organisms are made up of cell or cells. All the cells arise from pre-existing cells, and cells are the basic structural and functional unit of life. And in fact, this can be said as defining feature of life, means all the living beings without any exception are made up of cell or cells. No living organism on this planet has been reported which is without a cell. And contrary to this, there are no non-living objects where cells are present or an active cells are present. Of course, there can be dead uh, organisms or dead parts where cells are there, but active cells are not there. So cell theory was, you can say, put forward by Schleiden and Schwann, and you can say that cellular organization is the defining feature of life. Cellular organization is found in all living beings. So it is an important feature. Then fifth criterion is consciousness. Consciousness, basically we say, is the ability to sense the surrounding environment. Living beings are able to feel, judge their surrounding environment and respond accordingly. For example, whenever there is hot climate, then we start sweating. Whenever there is cold, then we start shivering. Whenever there is a frog and you go close to it, then it will sense a danger and it will it will jump inside the water. All the herbivores like a deer, whenever it will see a predator, it will run away and will try to save its life. So this is the consciousness. Similarly, even very simple organisms like amoeba, bacteria, unicellular algae like chlorella, chlamydomonas, if temperature is too hot or too cold, then they start swimming away from this towards optimum temperature. Similarly, they can feel and judge harmful chemicals in the vicinity and try to move away from it. They also swim away from very acidic or basic pH So this is consciousness, the ability to judge the surroundings and respond accordingly. Even in plants also, this consciousness is present. You might have seen that if a plant is getting sunlight from top, then it will grow towards the light. But if it is getting unidirectional light, then the stem will bend in the direction of light. So this is called as positively phototropic movement. In fact, stems are positively phototropic, and similarly, roots are negatively phototropic. They will move away from the light. You might also be knowing about the geotropic movement. So roots are positively geotropic and the stem is negatively geotropic. They move opposite to the direction of gravity. You might have seen the sensitive plant Mimosa pudica or touch me not. So whenever you touch it, there is drooping of leaves, there is folding of leaves. So they show quick response. That type of response is also found in insectivorous plants. As soon as insects touch them, they fold and catch the insects. So plants are also able to sense their surrounding environment and respond accordingly. You might have seen a seed, if it is kept under optimum condition, it is soaked in water, temperature is optimum, oxygen is available, then it will germinate. So it is able to see, it is able to sense that surrounding conditions are favorable, and now germination can take place. So plants and animals, all of them are able to judge their surroundings and respond accordingly. So that feature is found in all living beings and it is called as consciousness. Although the reaction in animals is quick, they can run away fast from a danger, whereas plants, their response is a little bit slow, but in some case they respond quickly also, like in case of sensitive plants or insectivorous plants. So we can say that all living beings are conscious, they are able to sense their surroundings and respond accordingly, whether they are bacteria, plants, or animals. There is another level of consciousness, a higher level of consciousness, which is found in human beings, and that is called as self-consciousness. We are aware of ourselves and we can think about ourselves also. So that is called as self-consciousness. So human beings have achieved a slightly higher level of consciousness as compared to other organisms. But here there is one, you can say, debate regarding this. Suppose a person meets a fatal accident and he is brain dead. His other body parts are working, but brain is not working. So is he living or not living? His brain is dead, it is not working, so he is not self-conscious, but his body can respond. His heart is beating, his digestive system is working, his lungs, his breathing is going on. So he is conscious about the surroundings and he can respond, but he is not self-conscious. So brain is also an organ just like any other organ of our body, like kidney, heart, liver. So suppose a person is with failed kidneys, his kidney is not working, but still he can survive, he can undergo dialysis, and still he can work. So it is just like if brain is dead, then brain is not working, but other body parts are working. So self-consciousness is a feature found in human beings. But even if brain is not working, a person might be living, his body might be living, although it is very difficult to sustain for very long period of time. So life is, this is how we can explain life, although it is difficult to uh, judge it or define it. This video was created for Pan India Institute. We are running bio classes for NEET and board exam. You can contact for classes, you can contact for individual topics, individual chapters, or even for doubt clearings, or you can join for full syllabus course. You can call or WhatsApp your queries on the phone number 9810 Thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully this video was useful for you.